be continuing the series we started on Jetpack Compose and also building androids for the modern world. Now, in this video, I'm going to talk about a few things. Number one, we're going to talk about lazy columns. We're going to also build and talk about columns and also cards. And the reason as to why I wanted to move to a card next before we can even draw like a circle, it's because from a previous video, if you've not watched it, go watch it. We touched on, let's say, edit text, text field, and buttons, because these are components that are really vital for any mobile applications to have, because I don't believe I've ever seen an app that didn't have any button or an edit text or a text field or even a text. But that said, let's get started. I will stop talking too much. Now, at the end of this video, you will have a scrollable card that has an image and a description of that image. Now, in Jetpack Compose, a lazy column is a composable function designed for displaying lists of items. Now, you can think about it as a recycler view if you've done Android before. But if you've never done Android, don't worry, I got you. Now, the lazy column implies that it's optimized for performance. So it's laid, because when you think about it, you might have so many things to load in your UI. So the word lazy just means this is optimized, and then the items are only composed and laid out as they're needed for display on the screen. So I find this to be pretty cool. I mean, it's similar the way a recycler view worked back in the days if you used them. It's pretty similar concept. Now, the card, however, is a composable function that's like a material design container for your UI. So I don't know if the cards are taken from iOS, because I think when I look at iOS, they use a lot of cards, those cards. I mean, I think they look fancy, to be fair. And when you tap on them, they give more description. So I kind of like cards, to be fair. Even the app that I'm building for my setup utilizes cards a lot. Now, in Jetpack Compose, a column is just a composable function that lays out its children in a vertical sequence. And then we can look at rows later, but also if you want to read more, don't forget to check out my book or even Google. You can always Google to find out what those are. Now, I'm going to stop talking and then we jump to the coding section. Now, here we are. Number one, so when I'm coding, I'm using this screen because I know I'm recording from this section because of my video. I didn't want to do videos where, sometimes it's okay to see the person that's talking. But let me know if you want me to change that. That's okay with me. We're going to create a new package and call this. So I'm going to take a simple project because remember, I want this to be very introductory in the beginning. I don't want to push people away by starting or doing complex stuff and people getting lost in the beginning. So we're going to gradually graduate in complexity as we go up. So this is going to be pretty simple. It's just going to display dummy data, a list of just images that we are going to download locally. And then in future, definitely we can use APIs to do this. But currently we're just going to use local images. So I've gone ahead and done that. So these are my images here, as you can see in Drawable. So you can also download yours if you have cooler images than mine. You can feel free to go and do that. Now, let's go ahead and create a package here and call this. So the project we're building today is Favorite City. Why is that? In 2013, I did travel a lot and there's so many cities, and I was like, let me do a project that has favorite cities. So favorite city. Inside favorite city, I'm just going to build all components inside here so that we can at least, and again, I did not create a new project. I'm just using the project that I had before because I think I don't need to create every time a new project. I can just use the same for demo purposes. But if you want to build yours from scratch, please feel free to do that. You're not limited. Let's do this. So I'm going to create the city class because the project is called, I don't know. Oh, okay, I'm back. I'm going to create a city data class. because we're building a project on favorite city. And this particular class will just have the things that we need. For instance, we're going to create that. I don't know why my screen is doing that. Okay, so we're going to create a data class city. And here, what we're going to do, we're just going to call this a data class city. And we're going to pass, let's say, the name of the city, name, and this is going to be a string. This should be a capital S because it's that particular. So if you click on the string, this is what the string is. It's a class that has all this. Now, and then I'm going to have a val, the image resource, which is going to be a drawable. And this is going to be an integer because we are going to just get this image from the drawable. And then that should be it. So you can format. So as you can see, I have a data class that's called city. And this city has the name and the image resource because that's what we will need. Now, let's go ahead and create, let's say we can create, let me see, now let's go ahead and create the city data source. And the reason as to why I'm calling this a data source is because what we're going to do here is that we're going to take this data class city that we've created and create a function called load cities, which will just be a list of the city, but now with us passing the dummy data. So let's go ahead and do that. You can create it inside here if you wanted to, but let me just make it cleaner and create a different file. So I'm going to call this city data source. And as I mentioned, what I'm going to do is just going to be a class that actually has a function that's called load cities. And this particular function is going to return the list of what? The list of cities. And sometimes you might get interviews like this where you're asked, hey, can you print the list of cities? Or, you know, can you, given this, can you return this? So what we're going to do here, we will need definitely a return statement. And if you wanted to return an empty list, you can return that. But this one will not do anything. It will just return an empty list. But that's not what we want. We want to return a list of our cities. So inside this list, we can start passing the city data object that we created. So here we can say city. And as you can see, it needs a name. So the name is, let's say, New York. You can make this cleaner if you wanted by just saving all the strings in, let's say, your string resource. That's just by using an integer, and then you'll just do r.string. The name that you want. But for demo purposes, I can just do this. And then here, I'm just going to need the integer, which is drawable dot, I say New York. But I think I need first to make sure this is imported. And then New York. Let me see if I have that. Yeah, there we go, New York. Now, for those who not watching the beginning, I did say I've already imported the PNGs here in the drawable, so you can create yours if you wanted to, so feel free. Now, I'm going to do something that's very common, which is just copy paste. Oh, I need to put a comma for sure, because I'm creating a list of the cities. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is because it's much easier to move faster, but I don't want to duplicate everything. So here I'm going to say, I need Paris, and rename this to Paris. Here I'm going to say, I need Singapore, which is where I'm going to this January. Singapore. I was invited to speak at Singapore, and I'm super excited. Singapore. And then next, I can say Spain. I visited Spain last year, and it was super cool. Spain, and here I can say Spain. And then I will need Switzerland. Switzerland is a country that my son loves, so I need to take him there pretty soon. And then here I can say Switzerland. And then I see I have more. I have Tokyo. I can add Tokyo. And you can add as many. You can add Nairobi. You can add, any favorite city you like. Tokyo. Now, what we've done now, we've just created a function that loads all the city for us. Remember, this is just dummy data. You can do this using an API where you return an API that calls from somewhere you've loaded, and then you definitely have to make sure that you're using the network to do that. But we will definitely build a project that does that. But for now, we're just doing this for demo purposes. And then when you go back to the data class, you'll notice that it's no longer grayed out because now it's being called. Now that we've created the data source and we have the data class, let's go now create our simple project, which is our UI component where we will load all this. Now, we're going to call this city component for now, city component, because what we're doing is we're just going to be creating that component that's needed to display our city. Now, if you want to start top up going down, that's okay. I don't know how everybody codes, but everybody is different. But sometimes I start top up, by top, I mean, what am I going to call in my main activity, right? By main activity, I mean, what am I going to display in the screen? Now, I'm going to create a composable function that's called Fang City App. Now, that's my app that I'm going to create. Now, I'm not going to let this one return anything for now. Sorry, not return, but take anything for now as parameters, because I'm not doing anything. But I'm going to create a city list that's going to take the city list, which is something that I'll create. Let me just show what I'll do. And then here I'm going to take the city data store and load all the cities. Now, notice I created a city list, right? What is that? That is a composable function that I plan. But when I meant by top up, it's just I start by the app and then the things that I will need in this to complete this app. Now let's create a Fang city list. What does it take? It takes a list of the city that we will be loading. So I will need the city list here. And then what do you think I'm going to load here? You can pause the video and try to see if you can complete this on your own. And funny enough, I've seen videos that do that, and I actually did that when I was also learning mobile, actually trying to just advance on mobile, and that really helped me a lot, like pausing the video and just trying to go see how you can do it, because sometimes learning through just watching is not enough. Sometimes you can just pause and go try to do it, and then it works very well. Now, so here I'm passing. If you pause the video and you came back, so here I'll just pass the city, because if you notice, that's what is just in there. Now, we need to load these cities, because you notice how many are they? There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's 6, and we can add as many as we want. So we're going to use a LazyColumn here. LazyColumn. And as I mentioned, LazyColumns are just like, remember Recycle View? Similar. If you've not done Android, it's just a way that we used to build back in the days using Recycle View. Now we will need items, but the items that we need here are this here. You see this list? Those are the items that we are actually passing. So let's do city list. And then we will need the card now. Remember, we've not created that card that we want. But here, you see this says, this LazyScope int. Sometimes, I don't like not describing what the it is, because not everybody will understand, but the it in this particular section, in this instance, is the cities. So what we're going to do is create this city card and then pass in the cities. But notice this here is not created, and this here is complaining. So why is this complaining? We can always check. It's required an int, but found a list of cities. Now, let's see if we can fix that by just continuing first. So here we have another composable function, composable Fang city card. Let's create the city card, and that's going to take the city. And then here, we're just going to leave that at that. Let me see if I imported the correct one here, because sometimes maybe the item that I import might be the issue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this and see the items that I'm getting. Let's see. So it has an item that's a list and an array. So let's see if this is the one that I need. Let's see. Yeah, that one's not complaining. Sometimes it might be just the import. That's the issue. And it's always good to just go back and just check, hey, what's that? Back in the days, I would freak out and start Googling everywhere. But right now, I feel like the more you do it, the more it becomes comfortable and the more you get like what you're doing. Now, we've created this city card that takes the city now. But how are we going to implement this? Now, this is where building the cards start. Now, we're going to import the card, and this card is definitely the composable card provided by Compose. And I think I need a card that let me see if I'm getting the right, but we don't want to click right now in this demonstration, because I also mentioned in the beginning I don't want my videos to be so long, so I'm not going to make it have like an entire clickable functionality which leads it to another screen. So let's just do this card that takes just a modifier, and here we'll do a modifier, and then we will do like a padding. Let's say we can give it a padding of let's say 10 dp, and then if we need an elevation, okay, I need to import that, and then we can add like an elevation, because I mean cards are good, but they need some elevation, and then the elevation we can make it, let's say 4 dp. That's okay with me. But I do know if I'm importing from Material 3, the cards from Material 3 like don't take this kind of elevation. That's what I noticed. So for now, you can just remove that. You might not need that. But I did notice the cards in Material 3, they don't need any elevation, or something's up with it. Now, let's do a column here. So why am I creating a column? Because in this column, I will need an image and then the text, because I need to make sure that they're well organized and well put up. Now, in this column, I'm going to call the image. Remember, we created an image in previously. So here we are going to have a painter, and this painter is just going to be painter. Let me see, painter resource. And then here we're going to do like, let me see, we're going to call the city dot. And what we're getting here is the image resource ID, because remember, this is what we're displaying in this pantry. So this is the image, but this is what we need. Here we definitely need to create a good, I think it's good to use a string resource. I always forget that sometimes. String resource r.string dot images. For now, I'm just going to call them images, but definitely giving it a good description is important. But for demo purposes, this is just what I'm going to do. Let's create images. And then what are we going to do next? We can give it a modifier, right? Let me format my code first to just see where I am. We can give it a modifier. And let's say we do a modifier of fill in the max. What we're saying here is that we're telling this particular image fill the space of that card dot fill max width, and then we can give it a height too. I feel like for this example, let's give it a height so that let me do maybe 160.dp, give it a height, and then we want to make sure that our scaling is good. So let's do like make sure that it's well aligned in the center. Now, again, I always say when you're building, you might have your own specification. Normally, you would follow what UI UX has given you to build. So when you see, I'm just building on top of my head, like no design person has given me all these restrictions. But when you're working, you'll be given the restrictions, so you have to follow those and make sure that it looks exactly, pretty close to what should be. Now let's go and add the text. So the text is just going to be the string, and here what we're going to do is that we're going to pretty easily return the city dot name, because that's what we need. And then inside here we can also do like a modifier equals modifier dot, why did I import the wrong one? Modifier dot, what we need here is just a pattern. We can, let's say a pattern. So I'm also again doing this from my mind, just trying to see what we might need. And then you can put a typography or any style that you want. So let me see if I can have it have, let's say material design, material theme style, material. I don't know how to spell material theme. There we go. Dot, I think we can get the typography, and then we can give it let me see, label, no, let me give it a H. They don't have, so okay, this is what they have. Okay, let's just go label medium. That's enough. And then I'm going to format that so that at least we are able to see. And hopefully that's just a simple thing we need to do for this example. Now, when I go to my main, I'm just going to comment out what I had put before. If you noticed, I had put that before and just call the city up, which was the top level. Let me run this and see what we get. Hopefully it doesn't take forever to launch. But yeah, as you've noticed, it's just an easy, again, I'm not going to be using the word easy because it's not easy for everyone. But once you get used to Compose, it becomes pretty faster to build with and also easier. And also, like I mentioned, I know I've mentioned this before, I feel like right now I can flex when coding because it's so good when you write Compose. You're like, you know what's going here, you know what's needed here. But of course, when you're working in a company, you have to look at what the UI team needs. And it looks like install was successfully finished in that section, in those seconds. So my app should be launching on device. Let's see if that's done. And it's fully launched. So I'm gonna bring over my emulator there. And there we go. Look at that. Look at how beautiful it looks. Voila. And you have an amazing, as you see, New York, Paris, Singapore. And if you notice, the card was material 3. That's why it actually picked the color of the background for these sections here. That's why it's showing that, because we didn't set that. So it's taking this app's color and then setting all that. So it's pretty cool. Watch it for the next video. In the next video, we'll be drawing a sacco, and also we can try to see if we can squeeze in a collapsing toolbar in there, and then I'll continue doing more and more. I hope you enjoy, and don't forget to share with others who want to learn mobile. I was thinking also, because I've also jumped into doing Swift, and I've been doing it for a while now too, just on the side. I can do some videos on Swift just to show how Compose and Swift is so similar, and it's so easy for now any builder to just jump into Swift UI and start building for iOS too. So I'll do a couple of videos after I'm done with my series on Swift too. I know somebody else asked me if I can do Flutter. I've not touched Flutter yet, but I'll see how that goes. But yeah, thank you so much. Bye.